Welcome to the Divine Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Cristina Aroche, and together we are walking the path of discovering your true self and the alignment with your soul. Through these conversations, you will experience a deeper level of connection with yourself and the universe, and most importantly, you will trust in your spiritual journey ahead. Let's begin. Hello and welcome back to another episode. I am so excited for today's episode because I am answering a question that was submitted by a listener. And so this is for you if you are in a place where maybe, you felt like you have a daily spiritual practice, but yet it feels like you're still not fully maybe connecting or experiencing the full range of connection that you could have with the angels, with your spirit guides, with the universe, with the divine, right? Maybe you're kind of like, well, I'm meditating, I'm doing all these things, and yet I still can't hear or see my angels or whatever, right? And so you're kind of in that place and wondering what's going on. How can we go further? How can I actually deepen my connection? So this is going to answer that question for you. And so I'm going to first of all read the submission to you so you can kind of see the context, and then I'm going to answer this question. Okay. So the submission says, I've been meditating daily for a long time since way before COVID. I know I have guides and angels around me all the time, and I've witnessed synchronicities and experienced how the universe has come through for me. So I feel I'm connected and aware, but I don't hear and see as clearly as I would like to. But yet, with someone who is a clearer channel, such as yourself, for example, someone who can see and hear and introduce me to my angels, would I be able to clearly see and hear them after that? How does that work? So I love this question so much, and we are going to dive into all of the things. So first and foremost, the thing that I would say is that, and this is a thing that I often witness doing this work, supporting other people in deepening their spiritual connection, is that we do have a tendency to kind of compare ourselves and our abilities or how we receive or perceive information or the presence of angels and compare them to others and how other people do it, and kind of from there judge whether it's better or worse or whatever, right? And I know that I have been there. I have been there where I felt like my abilities or the way that I perceive the angels or, the divine and how I see them, how I receive messages, how it wasn't good enough or how it wasn't as good as someone else, right? So I get it because I've been there. I've totally compared myself and judged myself compared to other people. And what I have learned is that we all have our own unique way of having that spiritual connection. And when we do hold ourselves in judgment or comparison and feel like our way or the way that we are currently receiving information isn't as good as someone else, that judgment, that comparison, holding ourselves in that space actually makes it harder for us to grow into our abilities, right? And grow into other ways that the divine can come through. And so one of the things that I teach always, always, always is that it is important to lean into your specific way of your way of receiving information and your relationship with the divine, because your relationship is going to be unique to you and it's not going to be like anyone else's, right? And of course, having the intention and the desire to, let's say, develop your clairvoyance, right? Like to be able to actually see energy or see the angels or your ability to hear them, right? Like that is beautiful and important to have. Like definitely, I'm not saying don't have that intention or don't have that desire. Like if you have that desire to see more clearly or hear them or whatever, that's perfect. But then once you have that intention, that desire, it is important to kind of surrender it and trust that it's going to get developed over time in the way that it's supposed to, right? And then the next thing that I always teach is that if we focus on the way in which we do receive information or the way that we do perceive the angels or our guides or, God or spirit, whatever, like when you focus on your strengths when it comes to your spiritual abilities, when you focus on how you are already receiving information, then that is actually the pathway. That's the gateway to developing your other abilities, right? Which may sound counterintuitive. It might sound like, but how am I going to develop it? But really the thing is that you're trusting. And the thing is that you're leaning into what is already there, and you're leaning into your spiritual connection even more, which then supports you in your growth, your healing, your expansion, your awareness to then open up the other abilities, right? And so when we're not trying to, try so hard to open up a specific ability, and instead we just surrender to what we do experience and how we do experience it already, and with full acceptance, with full love, and with full trust that it's going to happen over time. Whenever it happens, it's going to happen. And the way that I receive information now is beautiful and perfect and not worse than a different way, then that's actually when it opens up. So I would invite you to look at, to anyone listening to this and who kind of resonates with this experience, I would invite you to, first of all, see what kind of beliefs you hold around the way that you are receiving information now, or the way that you're perceiving energy, and seeing if you hold any beliefs that the way that it's coming through for you isn't enough or good enough compared to other people. And that, let's say, for example, another belief that I've witnessed in other people, with clients and working with people in this area specifically, is the belief that, well, until I'm able to see, until I develop my clairvoyance, like the information that I receive isn't good enough. Or once I start to have clairvoyance or develop that ability, then I'll receive the information that I'm really looking for. Or it'll be clear for me the guidance that's come through, right? I think that's another one that we experience is, well, it's not really clear. I'm not really sure exactly what the angels are saying now. So once I develop my clairvoyance, then I'll have more certainty in what they're saying, right? Or what they're trying to tell me, or the being able to hear them, right? Like whatever the thing is that you have a perception that this specific way of receiving information means that the guidance is going to become clearer to me. But that's actually not true, because if you are questioning or not in full trust right now, then the clairvoyance isn't going to make you trust more. You're just going to start questioning what you're seeing. You know what I mean? Or you're going to start questioning what you're hearing or whatever. So it really is about developing your trust in where you are right now. That's then going to naturally open up the other abilities and the other way that you can perceive energy. And I do believe that everyone has that ability. I do believe that everyone can be clairvoyant, for example, right? But it is a matter of first really strengthening and building this foundation for where you are right now. And then also, it's kind of one of those things where everyone has different, a different strength and different way, where yes, you can develop your clairvoyance, but maybe your sense of feeling is still going to be the strongest, even if you do start to see energy. You know what I mean? So you really want to anchor into what is your strongest ability now, because that's going to make way for you opening up to all the different ways that you can be in connection and receive information from the divine. Okay. Now, when it comes to my work and what I do with introducing people to their angels, and, as that question stated, kind of like if someone is a clearer channel and they introduce me to my angels, they can see them and hear them, will I then be able to hear them and see them as well, right? And the way that I think of it in my work is that I support you in sparking that connection between you and the angels, right? Using angels as a specific example. It's kind of like, because of my clear channel, because of the way that I work with them, because of the way that I am able to see them, perceive them, all of the things, and then relay that information to you and give you guidance in terms of how you can now start building that connection with your angels. It like sparks that connection, right? The example that came to my mind, an analogy of this, probably because I have a 2.5-year-old, is, when she's trying to zip up her sweatshirt, like I have to start the zipper for her, right? But then once I start the zipper, she can zip it all the way up herself. So it's very similar in that way where I'm starting the connection for you. But then it's up to you to then use the tools that you are already aware of and using your strongest abilities and using the guidance to then continue that relationship, to continue to build it, to continue to develop that relationship with your specific angels. And that's exactly what I help you with. And this is exactly what I lead you through inside of my guardian angel readings, right? So it's sparking that connection for you so that you can then take it and continue developing it for yourself, right? Because that's the thing, is that for myself and anyone else out there who is a channel, who is a healer, an angel reader, like whatever, no one can develop the connection for you. That's the thing. Like, no one can develop the connection for you. You have to be the one who develops that spiritual relationship for yourself, with your angels, with your guides, with God, with the universe, whatever. Like, that's between you and the divine, right? Like, no one else can develop that relationship for you. But what people such as myself, what we do is we help to bridge the gap so that you have a starting point, and so that you have some clarity, and that so that you have some direct guidance on how to do that, right? Like, that's one of the key things that I actually always talk about and mention in my guardian angel readings is I say, okay, these are your guardian angels, and these are the specific ways in which they're talking about you beginning to develop your connection with them, right? And it's not always the same. It's not always the same thing. Even between the different guardian angels that people have, one guardian angel will be like, okay, to develop our connection, it's through it is through meditation, for example. But another one, for that same person, another guardian angel that they have, their way of deepening the connection with that specific person is through the day-to-day communication, right? A lot of the times I see guardian angels saying, I want you to just talk to me in your day-to-day, like when you're going out for a walk, like feel my presence, just feel like you're having conversation with me. We don't need to sit and meditate and do that thing, but this is the way to deepen our connection, right? And so taking that guidance and then going with it and going with that flow, and then supporting yourself in continuing to develop your relationship with them. Now, the other thing that I'll say, again, you're going to use your strongest ability, like we talked about, to focus on that specific way of communicating and developing your connection with your angels. And then what I would say is that, because let's say, we're talking about guardian angels specifically, this is the same thing. I would say it's similar with your spirit guides or any other divine beings that are really close to you, that are personal and specific for you to be working with. Your connection with them and your abilities and how you perceive them, in my opinion, will develop faster because those beings are so close to you. You know what I mean? Because those beings are here for you, right? Your guardian angels are here for you, no one else. So if you're going to practice these your abilities and your connection and develop that connection, that's those spiritual abilities, then your guardian angels are like one of the best examples for you to actually, to do that with them, because they're here for you. And so they're so close to you energetically. And so energetically, the gap there is much smaller. And so the development there is much quicker. Okay. The other thing that I'll say in terms of just how this works, working with someone who is a channel and who can hold that space for others to, develop their abilities or to have a deeper connection, is what I've observed, in my containers. So like the programs that I create, or even the one-on-one space that I hold for others, thinking of it, and this is the case for me, and I would say think of it this way with anyone else, but anyone else who offers programs or one-on-one support or whatever it may be, is that it's literally an energetic container that you're stepping into. So when you are working with someone who is a channel, who is, working with the divine to support you, you're stepping into a container, an energetic space that has a certain frequency, that has a certain vibration. And so I have observed that when people are working with me and they're, whether it's in a group program or one-on-one or whatever, they're in a space that is supporting their connection, meaning that when we are working together, you are going to feel a deeper connection. You are going to feel a difference in the vibration. You are going to notice that things are developing faster because of the container that I'm holding, the space that I'm holding with the divine to support people who feel connected in that way or who desire to be supported in that way, right? I would never say that this is something that you need. Like, unless you do this, unless you sign up for my program, you need to do it now. Like, I never talk about it in that way because this is simply a desire, right? And there's so many different ways that you can support yourself in that way, but this is a desire that is met. You know, the desire to be supported, the desire to develop your abilities, that is something that is met in these containers because of the frequency and the energy that is held there, right? And so it does support you in how connected you feel. It have an influence. It does have an impact. And I've even heard people talking about, when they listen to my guided meditations, they feel the angelic energy so much stronger than if they tried to do it on their own, right? And again, it's because of the space that I hold, and because I've been doing this for so long, there's just this natural energy that flows through me, this natural frequency that I hold that helps, for people who feel a difference. Like it enhances it for them, and then over time, as you practice for yourself, as you develop for yourself, as you learn your way, you are able to hold that frequency for yourself also, right? And that's one of the biggest things for me in my work is that I want to empower you so you can do this for yourself, right? So it's not something that you're always relying on me or my containers or whatever to feel that way. It's being in the container to feel that difference, to feel what it's like, so that you can then develop your own way and then support yourself to hold that frequency and to have that deep connection for yourself as well. So that's what I would say. And I think that's why this spiritual work is so important and so powerful for everyone in whatever way you're doing it, is because it is there to support our evolution, right? It's our evolution, it's our growth, it's our expansion. And so when we come together in these different ways, these different containers, being held and supported, it helps to accelerate that process, So that's what I would say with regards to that and what that would look like. For someone who is wanting to develop their connection, who actually wants to deepen their connection to the angels and to the divine. So I would love to hear from you. If this is something that resonated with you, let me know in the comments. If you are interested in developing your connection, you can go to the link in the show notes to my website, check out the different resources that I have, the different programs that support you in that way. And I would be honored to guide you and support you in your development of your spiritual connection and your abilities. So that is it for today's episode. I cannot wait to hear from you. And as always, I'm sending you so much love and angel blessings, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye. If you are someone who is seeking to be supported by the angels, to deepen your connection to the angels, to understand how to work with them in your everyday life, then I invite you to join me inside of my membership group called the Angels Guild, where we go deep in understanding how to connect with each of the archangels, understanding how they are here to support you, and to guide you on your journey of growth, of connection, of living in your highest potential, opening up to your gifts, living in your truth, and being empowered in who you are. Join me inside of the Angels Guild. All of the details to join the membership are in the show notes below.